What was the moment where you decided, I don't want to do this?
You know what? Again, when this district was established, it was like exciting. I'm like, wow, look at this. I live in Colony. I've got a house in Rensselaer County. I like carved this little niche out, and I'm like, I think I could do this, you know. And again, you know, I'm very critical at times of the Senate and the Assembly, and I'm like, boy, this would give me an opportunity for me to get up there and be a voice for just like common sense, right? And I had a lot of words of encouragement coming from local elected leaders and community leaders and labor organizations. One person called and were like, we want you to run for the 43rd. And I mean, it was exciting. And I'm kind of like, wow, this is awesome. And then as I started thinking about it and it started settling in, I kind of like got like this pit in my stomach. And I'm kind of like, do I really want this? You know, and we kept moving forward. And I just kept like, kind of growing, like, I think you're making a mistake. And people that know me know that there's two things. One, I'm a people person, love helping people. I mean, I think it gives me great satisfaction, and I think it's contagious, and I think the men and women that work for me go out and do more for anybody than any other law enforcement agency around. And I'm also relatively fast-paced, and I'm not really big on having patience, and I like quick results. Let's move on, let's accomplish it. If we can't do it, you know, let's get rid of it and try something else. And I don't think that would have happened up there. And I don't think I would have been able to help half as many people as I would love to help. And I don't think anything in the state of New York moves fast up there. So I really just started weighing my options and talking to my wife, and she's like, listen, I'll support you either way, but I don't think it's you. And I'm like, I think you're right. And that's when I'm like, you know what, let's stop the madness before it gets out of control.
Obviously, you considered it strongly to the point where the announcement in a way came out that you were doing it. So something in you felt passionate about this could be something that could bring a different kind of change, even more change.
Yeah, it did. Well, again, like I'm pretty critical of them. I think that a lot of legislation comes out of there is not well thought out. And I'm not big on like knee-jerk reactions, and I think that happens a lot in New York State. And I just would like the elected leaders up there to like walk a day in our shoes. You know, people are quick and critical to criticize police officers all the time. And yes, we are not perfect, and we do make mistakes. And you know, the goal is, you know, learn from it and move on and don't make it again. But you know, officers in today's day and time they have a very tough job, and people don't understand what they're dealing with on the streets. And then you factor in things like bail reform, and you factor in the amount of violence now. Yes, there's always been murders. Granted, you want as few as you can get away with, but now it's like every day there's a shooting, and people have become desensitized. And you know, before 10, 15, 20 years ago, if somebody talked about a murder, it'd be like, oh my God, a murder happened down in the city of Albany. And now it's like, well, we had a murder today in Albany, and in other news.
And we start counting them.
Right, and it just moves on. And right, and that becomes the issue, is the count. What's the count in Albany, Schenectady, Troy? And I think that we can do a better job, and police want to do a better job. And like here in the sheriff's office, we've built in mental health teams to go with police, to keep the police on the street. But that doesn't mean that we need less cops. We need more cops now than ever, and people have a hard time grasping that concept. But everybody that I talk to, and everybody that I talked to in my very brief Senate run, were like, we need more police officers. I don't feel safe. Tell me what bail reform means, and things like that. And even like, we are almost in a crisis stage with law enforcement and public safety in general. People aren't becoming paramedics. People aren't becoming dispatchers. People don't want to work in jails. People aren't going out to become police officers or sheriffs. And somebody needs to answer that call, Subrina. As I started to creep up in age, I started to pay a little bit more attention to EMS, right? And EMS is, first of all, one of the most underfunded public safety disciplines. And every town and village and everybody, they pay for their police, they pay for their fire, they got big budgets, but they don't want to pay for EMS. And when you dial 911 and you're having chest pains or a stroke or difficulty breathing or, God forbid, a drowning or something to that effect, you want somebody there. And there's areas that turn their head to EMS, but you know, EMS is one of the disciplines that falls under us here, and you know, we worry about it every day. We need people to answer calls.
Being in the position you're in, you have a strong, powerful voice in the whole county, but in terms of making that kind of change, right? Allocating funding for things like this, where it might have to come from the county level, the state level, above that. Being in this position only can do so much, right? So if you were in state office, could you have done a little bit more?
I don't know. Sometimes I think, boy, am I missing it here? And you know, maybe I should do that. And I just don't know. I think I would be the new senator, like, oh my God, here he goes again, you know, and just put him over there. And that's not me either. You know, I have this horrible feeling that I would have lasted about 10 months up there, and I would have walked out the door and looked for something else to do. I'm not one to deal with log jams well. I've always been somewhat of a pragmatist of like, all right, look, you're here, we're there, let's get here and let's solve this. And I don't see many things solved up there. And so I worried about that as well. And I worried a lot about the employees that I have. This has been my family for 35 years. I essentially grew up in this agency.
1997, right?
Yeah, 87.
87.
I grew up in this agency, and it's like home to me. And you know, as corny as it sounds, these employees, they're like family. I mean, we look out for each other. I had a deputy yesterday had an operation to have some cancer removed. You know, we worry sick about him. I have a commander going out tomorrow to have an operation to have something cancerous removed. I mean, these people, you know, we all look out for each other. We all take care of each other, and that was of great concern too. Like, where's this agency going to go? You know, because we've been able to morph this into like. We always, as corny as it sounds, we always say instead of protecting and serving, we serve and protect. And you know, who's going to lead this agency? And that was a tough thing to swallow as well. Is like, boy, we brought it here, and what happens? So, you know what? I'm staying.
What are you most concerned about right now for the capital region, for the county?
I worry about the violence. You know, as much as people hate to hear it, I worry about bail reform all the time. I worry about that revolving door. I worry about the violence inside of correctional facilities because of some of the legislation that's passed. And listen, there needs to be change, Subrina. Don't get me wrong. I mean, things were heading down a very slippery slope, and there does need to be some bail reform. There did need to be some discovery changes. Raise the age did need to happen. But we got sold a bill of goods with a lot of it. Raise the age, I mean, young kids shouldn't be thrown into jail right off the bat. But you know what? They never, in fact, added money to build any of the detention facilities for these kids. So we used to house 16s and 17s separately in the county jail, and now they go over behind the county jail to the detention facility. But they never did anything to modify the changes or anything. They say one thing, and it never happens. And that's what's frustrating as somebody that's protecting a community every single day, phones ringing all night, and a lot of times it's because of some sort of failed legislation.
You have already had good relationships with people in all sorts of different positions, right? And that, I think, has also been very helpful in terms of getting things done. But will you change your approach a little bit now that you've considered this and you see things that need to be addressed? Do you have a different way you want to approach things?
Not really. Albany County is blessed with a great senator now. We have Neil Breslin. He has, you know, probably 2/3 of Albany County. And we've got John McDonald, who represents one of the areas that I would have represented. And he's always been great. And I've always worked great with those two about looking, you know, I think they're both very reasonable people and approachable. And whenever I call them, they always bend over to help. And as long as it makes sense, right? I mean, and that's all I'm looking for is let's just have some common sense, and this needs to happen. And they've always been great with that. And you know what? Years ago, I had George Amador he had a part of Albany County that was carved out. And he was another incredibly great senator, and I wish he never got out. But, you know, so I don't know if I'll look at things differently. I think that you're going to have a lot of new senators come in. I think so on this election. I think you're going to see a shift. I don't think you'll see Republicans take the majority, but I think you'll see things kind of level out a little bit more, especially since some of the Republicans have to go against each other and some of the Dems have to face off. So you're going to see some new faces, and hopefully, you know, they're of you know, just kind of like mindset. Just be reasonable, you know. I mean, let's just talk about what the ramification of this bill is going to be, as opposed to just pass it and get it out there to say we were the first to do it. And then you got to fall back and change it.
You know, right now up the hill they are discussing and debating a series of new gun laws. We're expecting to hear something about it today, being the last day of session. What are your thoughts on pushing that forward right now, given everything that's happening in the country?
Well, I think the mindset up there is that we have to do something. We can't leave session without doing something, right? And I understand what they're doing, but I hate knee-jerk reaction. I hate knee-jerk legislation. And you need to...
Do you agree with the proposals?
Some of them, yeah. I don't have a big issue of going from 18 to 21. I really don't. That's, to me, that seems to be common sense. The microstamping, that we're never going to see that. I mean, that's like the ammunition part of the SAFE Act that's, you know, years and years old, that is nowhere near being in fruition. So, you know, as far as some of the other things with body armor, you know what, I got into a heated debate last night over this because I don't see the need for it. I'm a police officer, and, you know, I don't walk around and go shopping with body armor on. You know, I know, you know, some of their side of the debate was that, you know what, they want to feel safe, and if something horrible is happening down the street, they want to put their body armor on. But now you can see in Buffalo, the body armor, that threat could have been stopped. That officer shot that kid 2 times in the chest, and then that guy took that retired officer's life. That threat would have ended. So that's problematic, and I know that, you know, people will be frustrated with that. I'm a gun owner. I shoot. My wife shoots. I'm responsible. I'm accountable. I hate to see things that affect the law-abiding citizen, because bad guys don't care about your laws, our laws, right? They don't care. They're going to do what they want to do. I mean, we've seen them manipulate weapons. I saw a flare gun 2 weeks ago turned into a 9mm handgun. Probably would have blown the kid's hand off. But, you know, a lot of these things, you know, it affects the law-abiding citizens, and I think that's somewhat unfair. I understand both sides of the debate when they're saying it's Second Amendment and, you know, to be infringed upon, and I understand that. But I also think that, you know, we need to look at it with a common sense approach and find some common ground, instead of the left digging in and the right digging in, and then nothing is going to get done. So, and I would hope, and I firmly believe, I've talked to gun owners, and they also believe that, you know, there needs to be some changes. They all kind of concede to that. Nobody wants to see young individuals killed and massacred by some coward. Nobody wants to see that. But they also understand and and the other side needs to understand that the laws that you are putting into place are only affecting the law-abiding people. Bad people are going to continue to do bad things, and evil will always find a way to do evil. And we need to keep that in mind. And that, of course, brings up the infamous mental health crisis that we face. And mental health, Subrina, has a nexus to everything. It has a nexus to drug addiction, to depression, to PTSD, to domestic violence, you name it. Everything we deal with every day here in the Sheriff's Office has some sort of nexus to mental health. And I think there needs to be a big focus on that. And instead, we're not. You know, schools need more mental health. Schools need school resource officers, and I'll defend that all day. I see the good things that our school resource officers do. I've seen them stop weapons from being brought into schools, intercept drugs from being traded or sold in schools, go to the young individual sitting by himself in tears because maybe his parents are being divorced or getting divorced, or he's being bullied. And that kid could, in fact, turn around and do something heinous as a result to get even. That's what they're there. They're not just armed security guys in the school. They're much more than that. They're bridge builders. They're, you know, they're friends. They're buddies with the kids. We're going up tonight to Bern to play softball against BKW. I don't know how I'll fare at that, but we're going to try it. But it's there's so much more to it, but with that, there is mental health that needs to be. We try to connect the child to some counseling, make sure that he or she can get some help. So a lot of things going on in school with cell phones and kids getting bullied, and then that thing, you know, passed all over the place, and that's why we entered the program called Cyber SWAT, and it teaches kids. And instead of us teaching it, we have peers that teach it, and kids are receptive to that, because you know what? Today you could be the most popular kid, but tomorrow you could be that one that's being bullied all over Instagram and not even know it. So it is. It's a very bizarre time, and that's all we're looking for, is let's just have some common sense.
Let's talk about your Facebook message, because you touched on a couple of different things. One being a message that you've always told your children, that if you love what you're doing, you're never going to work a day in your life. And that played in your head.
Oh, definitely. Listen, I love my job. I'll be the first to admit it. I've been reelected 3 times. I absolutely love what I do every day. I have people call me at the craziest hours looking for things. My Facebook page is like a tips line. People are always instant messaging me, and if they need help, we find a way to do it. And I think we've made I think I've made a really good career out of that, really, by just it doesn't cost me anything to help you. You know what I mean? And I enjoy it. If somebody's got a problem at family court, we go down and we try to work it out, and we try to help them. If people need money because they're down and out, we try to help them. We've set up a benevolence fund for families that may be burned out or rained out or flooded out, whatever the case may be. And I think we've done a great job at helping our community, and I want to continue to do that.
You also thanked your supporters, because in the short time, you
Yes.
had a lot of them.
We did. First of all, the unions locally were incredible, and I feel bad because they came right out immediately. They're like, he's our guy, we're going with him. And I feel like I may have let them down a little bit for it, but many of them have reached out and they're like, buddy, we're with you, whatever you choose to do. And the people that had to carry petitions, of course, in the hottest weekend that we've had, and I don't know how long, on figures, and I feel bad for them. But again, deep in my soul, I know it was the right move for me, and this is where I'm supposed to be, and this is where I want to be. And some of the local electeds as well initially called out to have me reconsider, because I think they know I would have done a good job up there. And as far as the Republican-Democrat thing, it was really kind of a mix. I had as many Republicans reaching out, going, "This district is like created for you," and
because you would have been a more moderate approach, right?
Much more. I'm a pro-Second Amendment guy, but I'm also a reasonable person. And I think that we've definitely made a difference taking care of the homeless, taking care of the indigent, taking care of the addicted, taking care of folks fighting mental health. We've done just about everything. We've boosted the fire service. We've got ambulances now. We've got a state-of-the-art 911 center that, hopefully will be opening up by probably the latter part of this year, September, October maybe. We'll start to transition into it. It's a beautiful state-of-the-art facility, and we've done things where we've consolidated some dispatch, and we don't want to consolidate anymore. What I'm doing is I'm building this with the hopes of, if we build it, they will come, right? So we don't want to consolidate, we want to share it. So you come in and everybody dispatch from one location. It would be awesome, because if you're busy in Albany, somebody over here can slide over and help you. If we're busy with a Signal 30 somewhere, somebody from Albany can slide over and help you. And we'd also save a boatload of money, and I think that's what people want to see.
Yeah, safer and
much more efficient.
Economical, yeah. What does the future hold? Are you closing the door on this?
Yeah, that door's closed.
For good?
We've got our petitions, and there's a committee to fill, and I'm not sure if the Democratic chairman here, Jake Crawford, who's done a great job as well, I'm not sure if he'll want to try to appoint somebody to fill it instead of me, but that's their call. But they've got the petitions. It's really, I'm done. I'm out of it.
What about for the future?
You know what? You never can tell in the future, but I got to be honest with you. I think this will probably be my last elected position.
Do you have any message for whoever does end up getting elected to the 43rd Senate District?
Listen, whoever does that would be my senator, I guess, because I live in that district, and I just want them to have a reasonable approach and keep an open mind. There's people out there that need help. There's farmers in Rensselaer County that need help. There's homeless all over the place. Look at intersections. Look what's going on. And, I know we're always quick to throw money at sexy projects, but sometimes we really need to look in our own backyards. There's people struggling all around us, and look at gas prices now. They do away with the sales tax for a few months, and then they raise the gas prices. I'm like, what just happened here? It's unbelievable. There's no way we should be paying $6.50 for diesel, and that's all going to trickle down, Subrina. There's truckers that are paying thousands of dollars for fuel. Who's going to make that up? We are. So there's struggling families that were struggling before this crisis hit, and they're really going to be struggling. And those are the people that I always look for every day. I don't want a kid to have to sit in a classroom starving. This is 2022 in the greatest country in the world, and sometimes I think we forget and we're a little bit negligent on what's going on in our backyards, and we need to focus more on humans taking care of humans. So and that's what we do.
It's perfect. Anything you want to add?
I'm good.
Good? All right.
I'm good.
I'm good.